been very chill. I'm just hoping we get trick or treaters this year. Last year we didn't get much trick or treaters. I think it's because we're living in a newer community, so I
Hmm.
don't know if that's why. But it's been very fun. It's been very chill going to Spirit Halloween, seeing all the decorations. We actually went all out this year at our house, and we decorated since September the inside of the house, so we didn't have to do much decorating for the actual party. Um, and we put bats all over the ceiling. We have the floating candles, very Harry Potter. Yeah, this year we've definitely went out a lot more on Halloween, and it's been very fun this year, and a lot of good movies out this year that I haven't been able to go see, but horror's been kicking it this year for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I think there are a bunch of horror movies that I've been dying to see. I think initially you had said like, yeah, you kicked it off in September or so, right? So that was the same for
Hmm.
us. Like we September 1st rolls around or whatever date it was, maybe it's the first or the third. We just like instantly put everything up, started putting like the inside stuff. Mostly I worked on the outside right away because I wanted
Hmm.
to. I was like, this is gonna take a long time for me to set up all of these things. We have the young kids, so we've got blow up things all over the place. I've also got other props and stuff all over. And honestly, like, and now we're deep into October now, and I was still setting up stuff the other day. I'm like, this is gonna take me 2 months of setup outside, so I got to start
That's
early.
amazing.
Yeah, and then of course, like Beetlejuice came out. Beetlejuice came
Yes.
out at the beginning of September or so, and I was like,
Hmm.
I gotta watch that over and over again. I can't believe it still hasn't come out on like DVD yet. I know it's like I think sometime in November, middle of November or so. I've got my
Yeah.
4K shipping with the digital copy, so
Nice.
I didn't purchase the digital copy yet. I've been waiting for the 4K to ship. So, but yeah, there's been a lot of fun stuff. I think. Plus, me and my wife just went to horror night, so we had a lot of fun there. But I haven't. I'm sad I didn't make my way out to like Six Flags Great Adventure yet. Maybe
I've never
if
been.
I can work in a trip somewhere.
Hmm.
I don't know, but it's I like to at least check out some of the stuff that they've got going on there. But yeah, it's always like an incredibly busy season. My friends always like make fun of me here that are in New Jersey because they're always like, "Hey, when can we do a dinner? Like when can we go hang out somewhere? When can we do this?" And I'm like, "It's off the books. Like I can't do anything. I've got too much
Yeah.
stuff to do in October." So it's always a
I
comedy routine for me.
No, I totally understand. We went to a convention in the beginning of October too, here in Tampa. It's called Spookala, and it was
Yeah.
the same weekend as my niece's birthday. We had to we bought the 3 day pass, but we didn't go one day because it was her birthday, so we went the other 2 days, and then we were trying to cram in like cosplaying plus also walking around and buying stuff, and I tell myself I'm not gonna spend a lot of money, and I still end up spending a lot of money.
Of
And
course.
for Beetlejuice, I ended up pre-ordering the vinyl from Waxworks,
Yes.
and even on the baby, the Beetlejuice baby.
Oh, yeah,
Uh,
that's right. Yeah.
yeah, and he came in, and he's adorable. People loved him yesterday at the party. People were hanging out with him like he was an actual child. But yeah, this season's very expensive, very expensive
It
for us
really
too.
is. Yeah. Between us for horror nights, it's like we go down for like we do it for 3 nights. We're down there for like four or so. And it's just like, thousands of dollars you're just throwing at Universal just for 3 nights
Hmm.
of fun. And then yeah, everything else on top of that, all the other local haunts and different things you got to go to. It's like,
Yeah,
not even that, but just like like going to Target or like Spirit Halloween or wherever. It's just like
yeah.
too much money. Like they get you right away. Our Spirit Halloween opens in like August. We have like the flagship store
Hmm.
a little ways away, like 20 minutes away or so, and it's just massive. Like I actually just it took me so long. I just put up a TikTok of like my family's visit down there the other day. Unfortunately, my local Spirit Halloween is just like tiny this year. There's like almost nothing in there
Oh.
except for just costumes, nothing else. So I was a little
Mm.
disappointed in that, but the at least we have the flagship one that's a little ways away. So yeah, it's too much money for this season.
Yeah. Yeah, we had one 10 minutes away, and this year they didn't put it there. And now our closest is 30 minutes away.
Mm.
Yeah, I was so sad they didn't put it back. They put like a karate school there, and I was like, well, I guess. Um,
I guess if a business has to be there all year long, why not? I
yeah,
guess, you know.
yeah. But yeah, it's been a fun season, and it's like my friend says, we don't from October to December. It's like there's no point of saving money anymore because it's just holiday after holiday after holiday. There goes the
Yeah,
savings you were trying to save all year.
I know.
Um,
Yep.
hmm
Yeah. So we're going to be talking about our top five or plus. We started out as the top five. I can't get that out of my head now, but we're gonna expand that. But I know I asked you about like your thoughts on like is the Jurassic or should it be considered like horror in any way?
hmm
But like, what are your general thoughts on the scares? I guess within the franchise, and also how would you like the franchise to be viewed? Would you like it to be viewed as like something scary or more scary? Would you like it to be scarier? What are your thoughts on all that?
Okay, so that's tricky because I I don't have kids, and I
Mm-hmm.
understand that people that have kids would like to show them, these kinds of movies. But I, as a kid, personally, I was shown this. I guess people consider a very
Yeah.
young age, 3 or 4, and I loved it personally. Um, and I really wasn't scared of it. There are moments where, like, I would jump or something, but I found it more exciting than scary.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I took a friend of mine for the 25th anniversary when they released Jurassic Park in 3D in theaters,
Yeah.
and she was jumping the whole time. So I'm like, to her, it's a horror movie. While to me, I'm like, yeah, I see the horror, but I'm having more fun with it. I would like the franchise to go, and I've had conversations like this where the book is very violent and scary. I would like to see at least one movie do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if Universal will just go for it because the kids also are the ones that bring in the money for them. Um, or if they even do like a short or something. But I would love to see Jurassic Park go super rated R and bloods and guts and dinosaurs killing everywhere, just at least once, just to see it. Kind of like Deadpool. I feel like Deadpool is very successful in
Yeah.
turning the superhero genre and making a rated R movie, and I people still took their kids to go see it. So Jurassic Park doing it, I don't see why
Yeah.
they wouldn't. I don't see why they couldn't do it. It's just, will they do it ever or eventually?
Yeah. Well, I want to talk about Rebirth later on, but you
hmm
yeah, I like where your head's at least with thoughts on where eventually you'd like to see it. I think I'm more receptive to it, I think, nowadays. But initially, when conversations would arise about like making an R-rated version of, or just an
hmm
R-rated movie in the franchise, I think within the franchise, there's no way that they're gonna make an R-rated movie. I just don't
hmm
think that's gonna ever happen. I know Deadpool and Wolverine, just made a ton of money. It's violent and a
hmm
lot of other stuff in there, but it's awesome and it made so much money and it's great fun. Actually, just got that on DVD the other day, so that showed up. So I can't wait to rewatch
Nice.
that. I've got my buddy at Horror Nights gave me the half
Oh, that's
of
awesome.
the necklace. Shout out to Hunter. But I think I've been more receptive to like the idea of like a mini series or something like that, like an HBO
hmm
thing or wherever, Peacock or a Netflix. If they were to do like a retelling of Jurassic Park in that like violent, gory style that it is in the books, I would definitely be receptive to that. I just don't think it has any place within the film franchise currently because that's like you said, it's not aimed at that
hmm
kind of audience. It's more so aimed at like kids and families and stuff like that. Even though there are scares and there is a little bit of violence and blood and stuff, but yeah, I think I would like to see that eventually in like because they're redoing now like Harry Potter is getting a TV show and
Yeah.
there's so much stuff like this happening and even if you look at like DC and what they're doing with Batman and that
Mm-hmm.
whole universe. There's like 14 Batmans, and there's different Jokers and all this stuff. So there is room to do different stuff like that. Eventually, I think so. But yeah, I do want to get your thoughts later on Rebirth. But what do you say we
Yeah.
kick it off? What should we do?
Yeah.
We like we said, we have a bunch of things here. Um, let's go ahead and just do a 10 list.
Okay.
And I'll let you kick it off. We'll kind of just breeze through some of these if you want to expand on maybe the
Yeah.
top 5 or so. But what do you think for number 10?
So for my number 10, it doesn't even have to involve the dinosaur. It's not even involved with a dinosaur. It's because of a dinosaur, but it's when Sarah's hanging off the glass in the Lost World.
Oh, yeah.
That moment is so tense and terrifying, knowing that that glass can just crack at any moment. She can just fall through, and the intensity of the phone coming down, and that phone's coming down. It's just, I that's one of my favorite scenes in the Lost World. One of my favorites. It's so intense and so good, and then her backpack
Yeah.
saves her. It's so good, so good.
I love that moment. It's so great how they were able to capture tension and fear and scares along with comedy. Like at the end of that
Hmm.
sequence, and Ian's just like, "You're lucky back," as he's like holding
Yeah.
her, like. But it's honestly like that could have been number one. Like, to be honest,
Hmm.
and something like I think let me just put this out there. I know we just kicked off the list, but like Jurassic is scary. It has scary moments, but it's not necessarily like brutally scary in any way. It's kind of like it's got some jump scares, there's some tension, there's a lot of that
Yeah.
stuff. So I think you got to look at it from like a different lens, but I think something like this is a perfect example of like wow, this franchise can be very scary in moments
Hmm.
with even without dinosaurs. So
Yeah.
absolutely, that is a great pick. Um
Thank you.
I want to stick in that same film there because this is one of the first ones I thought of, and it's just
Hmm.
like a very simple moment in time. It's in the Lost World, and they're under that like little waterfall,
Hmm.
after the T Rex is chasing everybody, and Burke is just sitting there minding his own business, and a snake crawls into his shirt, and that moment freaks me out so much. Again, not a dinosaur moment. Yes, there is a dinosaur involved just moments later, but like that moment in and of itself is so terrifying because
Yeah.
I like those moments in movies when you're kind of forced to act and
Hmm.
and you have no choice but to freak out and like you know that's so scary to me. Is like you've got something that is scary on you, something even scarier outside the waterfall, but he has no choice but to freak out and then just die, from the
Yeah.
T-Rex.
I
It's brutal.
I've always felt bad for him because he was such a nice guy compared to everyone else on the team,
Yeah.
and just a simple little snake is what takes him out because he just runs into the T Rex, and it's like, ah, oh, come on, dude. It's like in that moment,
I
it's like,
know.
do I freak out and run out, or do I let it bite me and maybe die from poison if it's poison venomous? It's
Yeah,
like, oh yeah, I've always felt bad for him for that moment. It's so sad, but I do like
for
the
sure.
waterfall, the blood waterfall. It's very
Oh,
artistic.
that is great. Yeah, I love
Yeah,
that. The crunch and just the blood. Yeah,
yeah.
it's
Hmm.
great.
But yeah.
Yeah, what do you got? Number 9.
So my number 9 is very simple. Is the Mosasaurus emerging from the shadows in Fallen Kingdom after they're finally grabbed the bone from the Indominus Rex. I just thought it was very Jaws like and very creepy how you see here their lights go off and it's just big figure behind them and it's just the Mosasaurus and then their lights go off over the water and you're just like, well, they're dead.
Yeah, I will say that is on my list. So we'll talk a
Oh,
little bit
cool.
more about that in a bit. Um, let's think. Where do I want to go next? I want to go to. Oh man, I'm like looking at my list. I'm like, man, I can't believe I didn't put some of these actually on my list. Um,
There's so many.
there's so many. All right, I'm gonna go with this is one that I think I when I was making my list, I like I don't know if I said this on the episode or just with you and before, but I said I like split it up into different like into the different films and just wrote down as many of the scary moments as I could. And
Hmm.
Jurassic World unfortunately only had one moment that I could think of off the top of my head without like thoroughly reviewing it. But it is a moment that I really do like,
Hmm.
and it's the like the IR camera like raptor attack sequence. I love that moment so much. I think that's such a cool moment. Like there's just the camera's cutting out left and right. The dudes are getting dragged across the jungle floor. It's pretty awesome. I love that
Yeah.
moment so much. It is, you know, I know a lot of people say Jurassic World's not scary, but like if there's one moment, that's the moment for me. And I think it is pretty good in terms of scares and
Hmm.
stuff. It does have like some jump at the camera moments. It's got just
Hmm.
like big bearded dudes in the jungle just screaming their heads off because they're terrified. So it's pretty intense, and I love that moment. So
That moment's actually on my list as well, so I can save it for when I get to it. If you,
okay.
I wonder if we're gonna land
uh,
on one the exact same like last time.
I don't. Yeah, I was wondering that as well. I think this is. I was expecting a little bit of tangents, but so far we're hitting some marks here because there
Hmm.
are so many moments. But I think we will probably. There's a chance we could stick the landing on one of them or two.
Yeah, yeah. My number 8.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so Dilophosaurus stalking Dodson and Fallen
Ooh.
Kingdom. Yeah, I love that moment. I wish we would have gotten more of that dinosaur since we haven't seen it since the first film. But just that little moment they gave it there was so good. It's very slasher film. You don't know what's coming towards you. You just see the from the fog or from the steam from the machines, and it's just slowly stalking over to him, and then the other one kind of breaks through the glass and kind of does a little jump scare. Really good moment there for any horror fan, I feel.
I agree. I really love that moment. I did write that one down too, and I was probably gonna go there next, so I'll swerve a little
Nice.
bit. But like, I think that one that I love the tone of like the blue lighting and the I think
Hmm.
there's some I think if I remember correctly there was some interesting score or something going on there. But you
Hmm.
know, a lot of people were upset that the Dilophosaurs didn't really move or anything in this movie. Like they just kind of like
Yeah.
stagnant and didn't hop around or anything. But like I think the fact that they didn't move in this and they were so still was even creepier for me. So
Hmm.
I love that moment. That's a great moment for me too.
Yeah.
All right, so number 8, I'm gonna go with one that just happened. Actually,
Oh.
there's a moment in Jurassic World Chaos Theory. I don't know. Do you watch
Mm.
that? Have you watched that show or
Hmm.
Camp
Hmm.
Cretaceous? Okay.
Yeah.
So in the new season 2, there's a boat sequence and there's a Majungasaurus on the loose, and there's like a big like jump. I think it attacks like a Gallimimus or something, and it's pretty awesome. It's just such an awesome moment, and I think that entire sequence has some fun, like you know, scary moments
Hmm.
on that. You know, it's tough because I wanted to pull out a lot from those shows and stuff, but like it's not
Hmm.
super scary. But I think there are some there is that jump scare in that episode, and I thought, you know what, that's good enough for me. If I'm gonna put
Hmm.
a jump scare in there, it's gonna be when that Majungasaurus attacks the Gallimimus.
No, that the this season had a lot of night sequences that were really good.
Mm-hmm.
Especially towards the middle with the jungle and the other animals.
Oh
I don't want to spoil too much in
yeah.
case. But they had a lot of good night sequences this year, and I would say pretty scary ones too for kids.
Mm-hmm.
I love this new season. I love that whole opening sequence, the night one. It was really good. I can't wait for more because I go through those seasons so fast.
I know. That's the problem. I end up going through them really fast because I get the screeners early, and then
Hmm.
I'll do one viewing of just pure like just watching it. Then I do another very quick viewing while I'm taking notes and I'm kind of rewinding and stuff and doing it as fast as I can before the interviews
Yeah.
pop up. But it's and then I don't like take it in until the next season or whatever. So I do need more of that to pop up. hopefully soon.
Yeah.
I forget when
Mhm.
I was like calculating, maybe I don't know, maybe January or something, but that seems too early.
I hope.
Um,
I hope it's
yeah,
soon. I hope for a
hopefully.
trailer soon before the
Let's go.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, number 7. What you got?
So for number 7, it would be Lex gets hit through the air vent by the Velociraptor because I feel like
Hmm.
that comes out of nowhere. And it's a
Yeah.
jump. To me, it's a jump scare. They're just crawling through the vents, and then I mean, you see the raptor kind of looking up in that beautiful, beautiful shot Steven Spielberg did with the DNA on its skin.
Hmm.
And then it just jumps, and you don't know, and then you don't know if she's even gonna fall through. It's a very, very close encounter there for her, and I love that moment so much.
Heck yeah. Yeah, I think any confined area, and then you involve
Hmm.
dinosaurs and then like hanging down and dangling, underneath. That's terrifying. Very terrifying moment. So I
Yeah.
love that one. I'm actually going to stick moments before that. Just moments before
Okay.
that. Literally,
Okay.
quite literally. There's just I love the tension of that entire sequence. It's so like kinetic and there's so much energy and movement and stuff.
Hmm.
And it's just that movie has a great way of like lulling you kind of like into some safety and stuff. And I think Grant is on the phone with Hammond and at that
Yeah.
moment, and he's like, the phones are working, and like let's get to some safety here, and we're gonna figure this out. And then all of a sudden the raptor is attacking the glass, and I think it's just such like a visceral moment, and he takes the shotgun, he's like shooting the glass, and you hear it on the other side of the phone,
Yeah.
and Hammond is screaming at the phone. It's such a like moment full with tension, and it is scary for me. I love that because then the kids are involved, it's not just the adults, so it's
Hmm.
it's intense. I really love that moment.
It's so good. That whole sequence.
The whole
It's
thing,
so good.
it's so crazy. That was what was that, 7, 6?
Yeah,
You got
7.
6. Let's go
So
6.
yeah. So 6 would be the raptor jump scare that Kelly and Sarah get after they are done digging a hole in the
Ah,
Lost World. Because Kelly almost gets her head bitten off in such a close encounter. It is so good. You think they're safe. They're going to go through the hole and just run towards another direction, but the raptor just comes through there. And I don't think anyone was expecting it to come through there because they were just at the
uh-huh.
door digging. It's such a good jump scare. Such a good jump scare.
I just watched that one the other day, that movie, and I think that moment got my son because I was watching it with him, and he's was like, oh, freaked out. And I love also when Ian pops in just moments later, and they're like, look out, and he's like, what? And then the thing's just like hissing right there
Yeah.
underneath the. It's such a great moment. I think those raptors to me are the scariest raptors out of all of them. I
Hmm.
love that worker village entire scene. It's so good.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so like the tone of it is so good, so dark, so
Hmm.
just ominous, and those raptors are so brutal and they're just killers. So
And the
yes,
score, too.
absolutely.
The score is really good.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, for sure. All right, so that was 6. Where should I go? Um, I'm gonna go with Jurassic World Dominion, and
Ooh.
there's like a moment where they're in the amber mines or the caves or whatever they are,
Yes.
and they've just gotten off the tunnel thing, whatever that thing's called. I don't know what was all this stuff called. I have no idea.
Yeah.
but they're in there with the Dimetrodons. Let's get to the point. And then Grant kind
Hmm.
of goes up, looks up there, and on the stairs or the ladder, and then does it a second time, and boom, jump scare right in his face. It's a great moment for the Dimetrodon. I'm so glad that thing was included into the film franchise. It's such an
Me too.
iconic
Hmm.
dinosaur in quotes, because it was something that like I think was so utilized as a kid. Like there was always a Dimetrodon toy, whether it was from Kenner or some other place. I had a bunch of them in my collection, and I was always using them for Jurassic. So I think it was perfect.
Hmm.
I honestly think why I love these new movies so much is because they were just me playing with my toys, and that's what they became. And I think that's why I
Yeah.
love these movies so much. So yeah, Dimetrodon jump scare for me.
I remember I remember in theaters watching that scene, and I jumped so hard because I was not expecting a dinosaur to be up there. And when I saw it, I was like, "Oh, it's one of." Sorry, I'm bad with names, so I'm just gonna say it's one of those. I actually still have one. I have one somewhere in my collection too, and it's not JP related. It's something
Yeah.
else. Um, but yeah, that's a really good scene. That's a really good scene.
Heck yeah. All right, so we're on top 5 now, right? We've made it.
Cool. Yeah,
Let's go.
there we
What's
are. All right.
we're now to the proper top 5. Here we are. Go ahead.
All right, so this one is from Fallen Kingdom, and it's the Indoraptor stalking in the mansion. It's when you kind of just hear it here and there. You hear its little footsteps, you hear its little claw clicking, but you don't know where it's at, and you kind of just see it in the background running back and forth as our characters are trying to hide. I think that's very good use of a mansion, and of a dinosaur, and super scary too. Very I don't want to say haunted mansion because it's not haunted, but like killer slasher just stalking in the man because you don't know where they are at. Very good. And then I love the whole it's in front of Maisie's face when the lights go back on and you just
Oh
see kind of
yeah.
her face. It's just a good moment, such a good moment there.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said about that because that movie, obviously teased like the potential human cloning, and then doing that reflection in her face, it made us all question like, oh, what are they trying to relay here? Is there some sort of reflection in her that some sort of dino DNA? And I maybe I'll talk about that a little bit later on in my list, something else,
Yeah.
um but um but I love that because I
Mm-hmm.
also have the Indoraptor on my number 5 as well.
Oh,
But
cool.
I put mine a little bit later on, a little bit later on. It's the Indoraptor on the roof of the
Mm.
mansion. It's my just one of my most favorite moments, and I don't know. I feel like with these newer movies and newer content, Chaos Theory, all that stuff, and Camp Cretaceous. There's such great like lighting, and I just love seeing these dinosaurs lit in like very cool ways, whether it's against the moon or whatever the case. And that's what happens here. It's the music is absolutely monstrous, and it's channeling Bernard Herrmann so well. And Michael Giacchino just kills it with the Fallen Kingdom like Indoraptor theme, and the roar of the Indoraptor against the moon, iconic,
Oh yeah.
like instantaneously
Mm-hmm.
iconic for me. It's so dang cool. I love that so much. And there's a moment like where it's like walking on the roof and the camera angle like shifts, and
Oh.
then all of a sudden you're like, oh, this thing's actually like crawling downwards, and then
Mm-hmm.
it's giving us like, I forget which, if it was like a Dracula or Nosferatu, I forget which one it was, but it's like channeling like so much of that, in the way that it's like the camera angles and like the hand the gripping down, opening the window, and then the floating curtains, and it's just such a, like,
Yeah.
you mentioned like a haunted mansion kind of vibe. It absolutely
Yeah.
does feel that way. It feels like this,
Mm-hmm.
like the way it's shot, it's so glowing and just so mysterious and haunting looking. And then there's like shadow play and stuff like that you're like, oh my
Mm-hmm.
god, things are transforming. It just looks crazy.
Yeah.
And the just the Indoraptor like crawling over the bed, and the face is like right at Maisie. Just a terrifying sequence all around. Love that moment
Yeah,
so much.
it's kind of giving like a haunted. No, the Nosferatu. You're kind of right on point with that. Especially if you've seen the new trailer with the for the new one, it does feel that way with
Hmm.
kind of like a xenomorph, like aliens. Especially the
Uh-huh.
re, the glass reflection that to me is very xenomorph like because I feel
Okay.
like it happens in that franchise. That I've grown that mansion sequence has grown on me because I was at first I will admit I was kind of disappointed that Indoraptor didn't leave the mansion when it was outside when it could have left, but it's grown on me. I see the appeal of it. I see the appeal of it. Hmm.
Yeah. I love that kind of monstrous creature that literally like, yeah, it's just Frankenstein together, and that's what these dinosaurs are. They're just kind of pieces of other things. The Indominus
Hmm.
was that way, and the Indoraptor certainly is as well, and maybe even more so. It's just, and then yeah, unfortunately, it's just killed right, right at the height of
Yeah.
its game, and then just like taken away from us. But yeah, it's such a great creation, and I think it is truly like a terrifying
Mm-hmm.
monster. So I love that so much. So yeah, number five, full of Indoraptor
Uh,
here. So
yeah, let's go. um, so my number four, we're going back to the Lost World again, and it's gonna be the T Rex putting its head through the tent while Sarah and Kelly are
oh
sleeping. That is so good, so good. I love the when Sarah kind of senses it and she turns off the lamp and then the shadow just appears from the side of the tent and then it goes into the tent and since it's an animatronic, it just looks so realistic. The teeth, how big it looks behind them, her trying to keep Kelly quiet, and you don't know what's gonna happen. And thankfully, that one guy screams, so it kind of saves them from not getting killed. It's such a good moment, such a good moment. It felt very Jaws in a way. I don't know, with like I guess a big, really big shark kind of stalking or something. But yeah, that's one of my other favorite moments in that movie, right before the chaos ensues again.
yeah, I think that it's like it's one of my favorite things in this franchise is when dinosaurs just kind of appear and you don't know that they're
Hmm.
lurking there. I think that's the scariest thing of these creatures, and maybe that wouldn't be accurate. I have no idea, but like the way that a T-Rex can just approach silently, even though we all know that it has the impact tremors and we hear that, but like when
Yeah,
when it just comes out of nowhere and it's just there, I just love that so much because it makes me think of what did it do to not be detected by anything.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
so crazy, but I love that sequence so much. It's terrifying. And one of the things that I think is really cool about it is that's the moment in time when you're like, oh my God, like Sarah has really messed up this entire thing. And I know we can all criticize Sarah Harding so much for like keeping the blood on her from the baby T-Rex, but
Yeah.
like that's the moment when you're like, oh my God, like is she
Hmm.
she's been leaving this trail of blood throughout the jungle. It's on her body. They've talked earlier about this, how the dinosaur will track people like
Hmm.
however far away, and it just did it. It tracked them down. It's not the candy in the tent that they're quickly trying to throw like into the
Yeah.
Ziploc. It's literally the blood of the child that is
Yeah.
there, lingering around. So
I always found
lovely
that so
moment.
funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
She tries to hide the candy, and it's like I don't think it wants that. Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, you had mentioned a Jaws like moment, so that's where I'm bringing this back around to the Fallen Kingdom Mosasaur attack for my number four,
Oh,
um,
let's go.
because for me, like water and like Jaws and sharks and that kind of thing, even just water with nothing else in it other than myself swimming, terrifies me. Like that's
Yeah.
like I
No, yeah.
I I hate like deep water and stuff like that. And this is one of those moments where the movie kicks off in such a way where like all you hear is the watery depth of them like going down. You hear that
Hmm.
pinging and you just hear the water. You hear like I don't know, no, you just hear the atmosphere of whatever they're just going down into the ocean there or into the lagoon, and it's so there's so much tension I think, and you can feel it in especially that one dude. I think they both are a bit scared, but that one guy's like,
Yeah.
stay calm, don't worry about it, and the other guy's like freaking out.
Hmm.
But I just love it because then the score picks up with some haunting like Indominus themes and stuff. You see the bones of the Indominus there. That's really cool and creepy. And yeah, you had mentioned the silhouettes because that to me, that's a very Steven Spielberg. It's a very like I think an iconic way to present like a horror movie is when you know that the thing is there, but you can't really see it. You just know it's lurking there in the shadows. You know, It's got that Michael Myers vibes. It's got Signs
Yeah.
vibes. All these things that like
Mm-hmm.
are out there and you just don't know it. But so you see that silhouette as like the mosasaur bone, or yeah, the Indominus bone is flying up, into the top of the water, and you just see the big shadow. You're like, oh man, I know what's coming. This is gonna be brutal.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Mm-hmm.
and then you do see it again later on. It's just lurking right behind the submarine with the teeth jumping out, and then you just know it crunches down, and their signal goes dark, and it's brutal, and that's terrifying for me. So being in that like that's really like a smallish lagoon, and this mosasaur has gotten massive after not eating absolutely anything. I don't know how it got that big, but it's
Yeah,
terrifying.
unless
That thing's freaky.
yeah, unless dinosaurs were going to drink and he was just grabbing them. Like,
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's not
yeah,
the first time it's happened, I guess, so
yeah,
I wouldn't put it
yeah.
past them.
But
Been
I
living off
totally agree.
Zara and Indominus.
Yeah. Yeah, but I totally agree. Water is very scary. Very, very, very scary. I don't like it either. uh No. I mean, I have a giant shark behind me, but I love the movie, but I wouldn't get into the ocean.
No, no,
Mm-mm.
definitely. No, I mean, I'll do it, but I'll get in the ocean and regret every moment of being in there. I'm like terrified of just even the smallest fish touching me.
Oh yeah.
So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
I don't know what it is. I'm not sure why, but I've just
Uh,
got a irrational
it,
irrational
I,
fear.
I I blame Jaws for everything, for
Yeah,
all
it's
of it.
gotta be.
Yeah.
What's your number three?
All right. So my number three, I had to get it's Jurassic Park 3. Ringing the number. There's just I it's like I have to have Jurassic Park 3 on my list. Give it at least one little shout out. And the only moment I could think of in this movie that I find genuinely terrifying, and it feels like such a just, it feels like another slasher moment. It's when the pteranodon comes out of the fog towards
Mm-hmm.
Billy. Yeah, Billy. Um, and it's humongous. You did not expect that to be the thing walking towards him, because I didn't know they could just walk like that on their, with their wings. And the design of the pteranodon in Jurassic Park 3 is amazing. I wish they would just bring it back. And that whole sequence, that's probably my favorite sequence in that movie. But just that little moment of it coming out of the fog is just so scary. It's so scary.
Yeah.
It's a great moment.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Terrifying stuff. I think that entire sequence, you know what? I'm glad you picked it because I left it off my list because I was hoping maybe you would have it on there.
Oh yeah.
So I wanted to try to change it up, but like that is absolutely one of the coolest moments I think in any of these movies, and definitely one of the scariest looking, the vibe of it with the fog everywhere, and just seeing how
Mm-hmm.
massive that cage is, and then like being terrified of what could be in there. And yeah, how big those things were, the pteranodons, they were just massive.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing that there's like a dude in there just like walking around, like it's so awesome. It's
Mm-hmm.
such a creepy moment. So I do love that, and I think yeah, that's definitely probably one of the best parts of that movie for sure.
Mm-hmm. And the way that sequence ends with uh, Billy getting kind of murdered, and then the other pteranodon kind of just looking back at Alan, it's such a cool shot. I'm obsessed with that shot. I
Yeah.
wish I wish they would bring that design back. That design is so scary. I love those so much.
Yeah, everybody really hates on the Jurassic World design and stuff, and like I never have been like a hater of the design per se, but
Mm-hmm.
I think when you compare it to what we see in Jurassic Park 3 and just how big and foreboding those were, it
Mm-hmm.
makes a lot of sense that like it would be very cool to see that kind of return instead of the smaller ones that
Yeah.
we have now, because you can't, like, those smaller ones are fine and cool, but like they're not imposing like that one
Mm-hmm.
is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to remember which episode it was, but let me take a look real quick here. It was all the way back, actually, pretty much a year ago from now, episode 359 and 360. We actually did an interview with Mark Vigniello, who was the performer in that pteranodon suit.
Oh,
So
nice.
if anybody wants to go revisit that, go check out those two episodes, 359, 360, a two-part episode where we discuss all about that pteranodon. and everything they did,
Oh,
working in there. So sounds like it was a brutal experience.
oh,
Like
that
on
sucks.
camera
But
and behind the scenes. Yeah.
it gave us such a cool moment. Such a cool
Yeah.
moment.
All right, so for my number three, I'm switching it up and I'm doing something a little different. I was like, I want to put this on the list because I love this so much, and
Hmm.
I wasn't sure where to put it, but I was like, you know what, I'll put it right here, number three, and that is from Jurassic World, Camp Cretaceous.
Oh.
The Scorpius Rex appearing on
Mm.
screen to the campers. That we talked about the Indoraptor and how creepy that thing is. The Scorpius Rex is one of the creepiest things that I think any Jurassic media has ever created. I
Hmm.
love it so much. I want it to be in more. I know it doesn't seem like it's possible, but like I want them to develop that more. I wish I could see more from that because it was so crazy and iconic and just like totally out there. Like completely different than anything else. And I think when we talked about the reflection of Maisie and the Indoraptor, this thing was another one of those big question marks. Is like, what in the world did they do to create this thing? Is there some sort of
Hmm.
human element into this because of the way it walks and the way it like
Yeah.
stands up? It's so creepy and everything about it is odd. It's got like night vision kind of esque heat signature vision. Like what even is it? Every time you look at it, it's doing something different. It's climbing
Hmm.
trees. It's jumping, vaulting high. It's standing up. It's got that vision. It's just outrageous of a creature. The sound is horrific, completely horrific. And
Hmm.
again, another creature that roars at the moonlight and the lightning. It's awesome, and the eyes are like glowing red and orange or whatever. It's yeah, it's a horrifying creature, and it can kill you without even biting you. It can just slap you with its tail and poison you to
Yeah.
death. It's such a wild creature. I love it so much, and that introduction was done so well for you to kind of be terrified by it. It's at one point it like smashes up against the fence. I think they electrified it with like some battery from the like I don't know, something
It's
truck
been
or
so long.
just I forget. Yeah, I
Yeah.
forget what it was. Like it was like an ATV or a truck or
Hmm.
something. But I think they like battery charged the fence. It was like rubbing up against it and just sparks are flying. The thing's like
Yeah.
it's like drawn to like fire and light, and that it's just like so creepy of a creature. So absolutely had
Hmm.
to include that on this because I think that was well worthy of a spot on the list.
I'm glad you did because I thought about it too. I just since I haven't seen it in such a long time, I was like, I don't know if I have a lot to say. Um, but I was very happy that they showed us another hybrid. I was actually expecting it to be like an Indoraptor for some like kind of
Yeah.
like, oh, they already had made it, we just didn't know about it. But I'm glad that they had introduced another one, and I would love to see more. Actually, I would love to see more hybrids. I know that they're probably never doing them again because I mean, I've heard they weren't, but it would be cool to see more of these kind of weird created dinosaurs. And honestly, I would love to see a Scorpius versus an Indoraptor. Like,
Oh, that would be
I
a
would love to
battle.
see that. Hmm.
Yeah, it's like I was gonna say something I probably shouldn't have, so I'm not gonna say that. But it is a messed up creature. Yeah, it's
Hmm.
but I would love to see that fight. That would be awesome. All right, so that was number three. What do we got for number two? We're in the top two now. What do you
Top
got?
two. All right, so now I can talk about it. So when the Raptors turn on Owen and everyone else,
Oh yes.
yeah. So if you know me, I am a big found footage fan, and I feel like that moment right there was very found footage like. It gave me all the feels. I love the POVs of the Raptors just taking out people, and then the guys kind of having the Raptors jump on their face and they're kind of just jump scaring you. I wouldn't mind a found footage Jurassic movie, to be honest with you, of like someone coming up on the island getting stuck there, but they're recording everything because they don't know if they're gonna make it out or not. Like I feel like found footage and Jurassic would go hand in hand if done correctly. Because I feel like found footage could be very, very scary if done correctly and make it make sense of why they're still recording the movie when they could just turn off the camera and try to survive. Um, but yeah, I feel like that moment is amazing, and I'm glad we got to see something like that in the franchise right now.
You know what? You just made me want this idea of like
Hmm.
VHS, the series, but like for Jurassic,
Yeah.
where it's like
Oh.
somebody comes across tapes of all of the brutal moments that Jurassic tends to shy away from. Because the
Hmm.
camera will always kind of be off somewhere else or obscured for a lot of those brutal moments. But like, what if the camera didn't and you just saw everything like handheld like that? That would be so freaky and so cool to see. I think that would be pretty
Yeah.
intense.
Yeah. Such a that was I remember in the theaters I was like, oh my god, they just turned on him. Like the raptor talking to the Indominus, it was I was just like, oh, I think I know what's happening here. Like it was so good.
Yeah.
It
That
was
is
so
like
good.
that's a haunting moment too, just because like, you think you're in control and then they speak to each other and then when they do turn their heads at
Hmm.
everybody else, it's like, oh god, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
So
And
they
I love
become
that they brought
scary.
yeah, and I love that they kind of brought that back in this last season of Chaos Theory.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah, yeah.
yep. We talked about that quite a bit in
Hmm.
our spoiler episode of just how cool that was. So
Hmm.
I love it. I love it for sure. Yeah, and oh man, I think if I was to include something from that season, I'm not going to say what it is, but there's something in that season that absolutely I think probably deserves a spot on this list. I
Hmm.
won't say what it is, but it's a
Okay.
pretty cool thing. And that actually, when I was talking about that VHS tape thing that we were talking about there's somebody in that season who does some pretty terrible stuff that I would love to see what their tapes look like. It would be pretty messed up,
Mm.
pretty messed up.
Oh, yes,
So
yes, 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 yes. Mm-hmm.
all right, so I'm gonna go with my number two is from Jurassic Park, and it's just an absolutely brutal moment. And I think it's for me, it's when the raptor attacks Muldoon. So for me,
Mm.
like it's one of those moments that I would love to see, like the found footage of that attack head on,
Yeah.
because we do get to see it. We barely see it through the trees,
Mm-hmm.
and when you actually do like hone your eyes in on the actual attack itself instead of just taking in the entire screen and just everything, the
Mm-hmm.
jungle, all that stuff. Actually look at the attack. It is horrifying what is happening behind
Mm-hmm.
the ferns there. It's such a cold kill. There's so much thrashing and just violent movements. It's completely visceral, and I think like though obscuring that is great, then it's a family movie, but like everything that's going on behind that is just plain brutal, and I love
Yeah.
that moment so much. So next time you're watching Jurassic Park, really hone in on that because it's one of my favorite moments and it's so intense. So yeah,
That
Muldoon getting
moment would
taken down.
be yeah, that moment would be great if he was holding a camera and the camera kind of like falls off his hand, but it just stays on him, and you're just seeing
Yeah,
him getting more. Oh yeah, that's so good. It's so good. And then the raptors, while the raptor just watching with like the snake kind of
yeah,
slithering by it, it's
yeah. It's
so
so
good.
cold, like stone cold, just like
Mm-hmm.
sitting there, like watching the attack, like knowing that like the attack comes from not from the front but from the side, like that whole thing paying off in the long run. Like
Yeah,
it's so
yeah,
intense and like how brutal of a kill this one right here was just like I'm gonna be the bait and then you're gonna come and kill him. Like it's intense.
yeah.
It really shows
And he
how intense like the how like crazy of a killer those dinosaurs are.
hmm And I love that he realized what just happened to him because he did talk about it earlier in the movie. And it's like, oh well,
Yeah.
yeah,
The worst,
uh,
the scariest thing you could do is just have a quip and not attempt to defend yourself. You're just like, I give up. You got me. Like,
yeah. Clever girl.
yeah. He could have at least tried to do something in that moment instead of the nice quip. I appreciate it. Thank you, Robert.
Hmm.
But, you could have defended yourself a little bit better, I
Uh,
think. All right. So, number one, we're at the
so
last pick here. What do you got?
so I had to go with this one. This moment has always stuck with me since childhood. It is right before his attack, Muldoon's attack, and it's when Ellie says we're finally back in business, and the Velociraptor attacks her from behind. What an amazing jump scare! And not on we don't only get one jump scare. She gets away from it, and we think we're fine, but then she finds the arm and he jumps at her again, or she jumps at her again, and that whole sequence is so good, so good. I'm always quoting her in that moment. We're back in business, raptor jumping. It's such a because I feel like you're not expecting anything to happen. Like you're like, oh my god, the lights are finally back on. Everything's gonna be fine, and then nope, there's raptors now that are loose and hunting you down. So that I had to put that on my number one. I was trying to like not put the first movie on my number one because I feel like it's gonna be like I feel like
Cliche,
everyone's
yeah.
gonna suspect it. Yeah, but I had to. I feel like that's one of the scariest moments in the whole franchise, and it's just so simple and quickly, and you don't really see much of the raptor, but he jump scares you
Hmm.
not once but twice. And yeah,
Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to be mad at us for not including any of the like the T Rex, paddock stuff as scary.
yeah.
Yeah, sure it is. But my number one is literally the same thing. So we finally
Oh my
matched up.
god.
We we did it. We matched up on our number one. It's Raptor attacking Ellie. Yeah. Yeah, we had to go with the cheap jump scare. That's all we had to do. Like there's no better moment than that jump scare right there. Yes, Alan got a jump scare from a Dimetrodon, but we also have the OG Ellie getting it from the raptor there. It's iconic. Yes, and the severed arm. Oh my god, like
Yeah.
brutal. What a brutal like thing to happen. Again, let's get the found footage of the actual attack. That would be incredible.
Mm-hmm.
There's got to be a camera somewhere picking that up, but and shout out to Laura Dern for just an absolutely incredible performance. Being again, I think I mentioned this. I forget which part I mentioned it like for, but the fact that like they lull you in. Oh, I think for the gun shooting at the glass, they lull you into
Yeah.
this like false sense of security where it's like, Mr. Hammond, I think we're back in business. This is it. We're ready to go. And then
Mm-hmm.
boom, it's just like it's such an intense moment that just scares you, out of your pants. It's unreal. It's so good, so good. Completely out of nowhere.
And the way that she like jumps on the fence, on the door of the fence, and she's just screaming. I think she's saying "God damn" or something. And
I think so.
her performance is so good in that
Yeah.
specific. Oh, it's so good, so
Yeah.
good.
The chase, like her, even after that, she's like limping
Yeah.
down the hallway. The light is, behind her, just dragging, and
Mhm.
her, having that uh leg or ankle injury. I forget what the injury is, but she's like hobbling
Yeah.
along and then trying to make it up those stairs, panicking once she gets to the top, and she's just like
Mm-hmm.
completely out of breath. It's just such an iconic sequence, and yeah, I think that
Very final
had to be
girl
had to be
of
number
her.
one. Oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah, for sure, had to be
Mm-hmm.
number one. Simple jump scare, but it was probably the scariest thing out of any of these
Yeah.
movies.
I think I stood away from the T Rexes. For me, the T Rex it is scary, but I get more excited when I see it than scared. Like I was like, can I be the kids in the car? That looks kind of awesome. Um,
Yeah,
but the Raptors, no, I no, keep them far away, far away.
I think I've always thought that there's I stand a better chance against a T Rex than a Raptor. Like I feel like you could
Mm-hmm.
maybe outplay like a T-Rex a little bit in some way, but like a raptor, I don't necessarily think you could very easily. So that's always been the scariest thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, even that sequence again where the fence, like the way that the fence is curling, like it's just so
So
cool. Like I just love
so
that
good.
moment so much.
I can
But
watch
yeah,
it and never get tired.
I feel bad leaving the T Rex attack off there, and it does have its tension. Obviously, there's so much tension, and I will put that at like the top of every list of like best scenes in the franchise. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's got its spot, but like
Yeah.
I wanted to switch it up a little bit, so I didn't include a few things. Other let's see some other ones I wrote down. If you have some others, you can just list them off too.
Oh, yeah.
I the kitchen. Obviously, we didn't say the kitchen. The Raptors in the kitchen. Well, what are we
Yeah,
doing? We didn't say that
I
either.
have
Like,
that. It's my first. Moment. after the
Yeah.
list. Like it's the first thing I put in there. Kitchen scene. I was just trying not to write every single scene in the first movie because if you let me, I can make a top 10 of just the first movie.
Yeah.
I I was trying to be fair. I was trying to be fair. It was
I
hard.
appreciate that. Yeah, trying to be fair. So you're trying to be fair. I'm trying to like swerve around and hit some different stuff that I usually wouldn't hit. But like, yeah, the kitchen sequence, the long grass. We didn't mention anything about the long
That's
grass.
my
Like,
that was my second one. That was my second right under the kitchen. Like
the the embryonic lab or whatever that place is in
hmm
JP3. There's like a little jump scare there with a
Yeah.
raptor behind the glass, and um,
Must
let's
go
see,
faster.
mosasaurs. Yeah, that the guy with the yellow jacket with the T-Rex stalking him in the beginning of Fallen
hmm
Kingdom. That's pretty terrifying. I did want to shout out to Michael Giacchino because there is like another Bernard Herrmann moment where he like channels Bernard Herrmann with Psycho, and like
Mm.
there because if you listen to the score, I forget what the name of the track is in Fallen Kingdom, but it's a track where the what's the name of the one with the horns? I sound like
The Carno?
no, not that one. Um, he's got spikes on his head. He's got Draco Rex, whatever it's not a Draco Rex, but it's the other one. I can't think of it
Bad
right
with
now.
names
But
too.
anyway, it's got some big spikes, and it's like basically stabbing all the guests of the auction, and
Oh,
it's got that
Stigamimus.
Stiggy Moloch. There it is.
Yeah, Stig
We're
Marley.
so
There we
close.
go.
We
I
got there. We got there. We just sound terrible right now, but whatever. It's late. It's whatever. But that it's stabbing everybody, and it's channeling like the Psycho score so much, and so I love that. We again. I know we had it on our list like a bunch of times for our last list, whatever that list was, but the Therizinosaurus obviously should have gotten a
hmm
shout out here. That
hmm
sequence is terrifying. It's got some Michael Myers esque score. It's
Yeah.
great. The locusts, I hate those things. They're bugs. They're creepy. Get away from me. Yeah. Anything else that you could
um,
think of, or?
I have the baryonyx coming out of the lava in Fallen
Oh yeah,
Kingdom. Yeah.
yeah. That's a good
And
one.
then the Indominus Rex behind the gyrosphere, the reflection. When the kids
Okay.
notice it, and he's like,
Yes.
"Oh, there's
Yes.
5 dinosaurs." He's like, "No, there's 4." And yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I think
and
these random ones that we're
mhm.
listing could just be their own top 5 lists too. So it's
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and of course, the shoot her from the first movie. I mean, right, the
that's
opening scene is scary.
it is. It really is. Yeah, wow.
hmm
So this is where I feel like we need to hear everybody else's top whatever, however many you want to
Yes.
list, let us know because there's plenty of opportunity for everybody's list to be completely different. So I
hmm
think I'm glad we landed on the same top spot. But I
Oh, me
think
too.
honestly, any of those could be number one, like even
hmm
things we didn't list. So yeah, very warranted. But I know we teased it before, but like I wanted to get your thoughts on Rebirth. Like what just generally, it doesn't have to
Yeah.
be anything scary yet, but like what do you think about like that movie with the synopsis that's out there and everything? How, are you looking forward to it? What's your thoughts?
I am looking forward to it. I'm trying to be very positive on it because I know Fallen not Fallen King, I'm sorry. Dominion wasn't very big with everyone. I'm just very curious of like I'm very want to know like where are we going? Are we going back to the 5 deaths? Are we going maybe now to Africa now that they're teasing Africa in the new cartoon? Like I don't know. I'm just very and I'm very curious of what this vaccine is that they want and why they want it, like what's happening and what are the 3 biggest dinosaurs from land, sea, and water. Like like the only ones that come to mind is like the mosasaurus in the water.
Hmm.
Or are there more now that we don't know? Is there a megalodon now that we don't know about? I don't know. Are we gonna get the Spinosaurus? Everyone's been asking back for it. I don't know. Since I don't have any like videos or anything right now. I don't know. I'm just waiting for that teaser trailer to see the vibe of this
Yeah.
movie. Hmm.
Yeah.
I have so
Exactly.
many
Yeah, I
questions. I just
it's just like where are we going? Like what's happening? What's the ultimate goal? I think that's my question as well. Is like I've been asking that a lot of like the pharmaceutical company, whatever's at the center of this
yeah.
rebirth story. Like, what is their goal? Is their goal really? Are they just trying to make the world a better place, or is there something
Hmm.
else? Because like I guess they could just really just be trying to cure cancer or something like that,
Yeah.
or they've got some other motives out there that I just
Hmm.
don't really know what they could be yet. So it feels like there's always something else, some other agenda
Yeah.
that these guys have. So we'll see.
I
But yeah.
I will say I'm not. One thing that kind of got me a little, not a little angry. I was like the fact that they're kind of they're going back on the dinosaurs being loose on the mainland. They're kind of dying off because they can't survive on certain climates, and I find that kind of like a cheap little write off. I hope they're able to explain it well
Mm-hmm.
because for me, life finds a way. Life would have found a way to have them thrive in any climate because they can
Yeah.
adapt or evolution or whatever. But
Yeah.
we'll
I'm glad
see.
you put it that way. You put it in a way
Hmm.
that I haven't heard yet about life finding a way. Like we've all wondered why would it go back, and we know that like I feel like we tend to like like myself, other podcasters and people like we tend to look at this from like a behind the scenes point of view where they're like, well, they heard some backlash and the maybe the critics don't really care about these current movies, so let's go backwards.
Hmm.
Let's retract a little bit. Let's take it back. So you kind of understand why they would make those calls, but like
Hmm.
in terms of the movies, like you just said, it's always the statement. The mission statement is always life finds a way. And if
Hmm.
that's not the case, then what's happening? Is the center of
Hmm.
Jurassic just crumbling? Like what do we do now that life doesn't find a way? Is
Yeah,
is life
and
finding a way to survive somewhere else? Is that what it is, or is it,
yeah,
or did life not find a way out there? Like what is happening? I don't know.
and I feel like I hope because I know the biggest criticism of the mini was like we didn't really get dinosaurs, we got like grasshoppers. But I feel like they could leave it with the dinosaurs still thriving on Earth. The problem wasn't that there was I feel like the problem with people was that they didn't show enough of the dinosaurs in Dominion. We kind of got teased with certain new ones, and then we didn't see them again ever. We didn't really get flushed out scenes. The one that always comes to mind is I don't know the name. The big the starts with a Q. The big bird flying one.
Quetzalcoatlus.
Thank you. I don't want. I didn't want to try to pronounce it. It got teased in the trailers, but what we saw in the trailers was we got in the movie, and I feel like that's where my disappointment comes from. That we didn't get to see more of it or what it can do in action. So now
Yeah,
with
maybe
this
we
one
will.
saying that there is a big predator from the air that they need blood from, hey, maybe that's the dinosaur we're gonna get more of because that's the biggest flying creature that I can think of right now on the
Hmm.
top of my head that could be. I just hope that if they tease a dinosaur, we get more of it flushed out. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I think so. I
Mm-hmm.
think the most recent movies have had so many dinosaurs that they have to find time for each one of these species to have a little bit of screen time. So to
Mm-hmm.
maybe like dwindle it down a little bit and focus on individual ones, like kind of like you're saying, and just give that dinosaur some screen time to actually do some stuff, I think could be really cool. So hopefully we get that. I was really hoping it would just be like a singular, like a one dinosaur kind of movie.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it sounds like we'll get a lot, I think, and I'm interested in seeing where they develop, and maybe this will factor in, but like I do want to know what are your expectations for like the scares in this movie. But I think maybe this will factor into that, is like, will we end up seeing some of those unused ideas of like the human dino hybrids? Will we end up seeing some like, because the one thing that I keep going back to is like they keep mentioning, oh, what was the word? um, some sort of like secret, sinister
Mm,
secret, right? There's a sinister
mm-hmm.
secret at the heart of
Oh
this.
yes, yes, yes.
And one thing that I keep
Yeah.
like going back to is like this idea of like messed up dinosaurs that like
Mm-hmm.
were maybe the initial, you know, testing dinosaurs or just some that just didn't work out or whatever, and they just look terrible
Yeah.
or almost Scorpius-esque, where they're
Yeah.
they're just weird creations that are hybrid-esque but not
Mm-hmm.
hybrids, when so to say.
I
So
mean,
I'll be interested to see if
you
that plays into it.
you could say without talking so much about chaos theory that what was happening there is kind of sinister,
Oh,
in the
for sure.
back half. Um, so it could be something along those lines. And I also noticed we didn't see a T Rex, and I was okay with that. Actually,
hmm
it didn't
Yeah.
bother me. Um, I just don't know how people would perceive the movies if there wasn't one, which
hmm
was the biggest problem with JP3 among some fans.
Sure.
Um, I just feel like sometimes we just need to let other if we're gonna introduce new dinosaurs, let them have their moments too, so they can breathe. I
Yeah.
guess. Mm-hmm.
I mean, look, it,
Mm-hmm.
it might take a bunch of years, but the Spinosaurus is iconic, and everybody loves it now. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
outside of maybe some of the J Jurassic, I'm looking at you, but like there's some people out there that like you said, hate the Spinosaurus because of what it did to the T Rex.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm on board with that. Like, let's let some other dinosaurs shine, and or just the Spinosaurus again. Like, I'm fine with that too. Just bring that back. But like, yeah, it doesn't have to just be T Rex and Raptor centric every single time.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm okay with spreading it out a little
I'm
bit.
I'm loving the Atrociraptor stuff now. I'm loving it. It's new. They're intimidating too. So and they're using
Yeah,
them really well. So
hmm
it's proven that you could do it. It's just will they or won't they
yeah.
to
And
satisfy everyone. Mm-hmm.
with this cast and with Gareth Edwards and his expected tone and everything that he brings, do you think this is going to be scarier or less scary?
As I was watching some clips of the Lost, because he wrote the Lost World too, right? Because he
David
dies.
Cap, yeah.
Yeah. Well, if with the writer, yes, especially with the tones of the first two movies. The director, the only thing I'm familiar with is Godzilla 2014, and I actually do enjoy Godzilla 2014, and so I have
Me
high
too.
hopes for this movie for sure,
Yeah,
especially with the writer director combination that they have right now.
go back and check out Monsters, his movie. I forget when that one was from, but it's awesome. It's very good.
Yeah,
And it does definitely has some freaky tones, and I think it's a good table setter for I think what this could be. So
it's
definitely go
just
check
called
that one out.
Monsters.
I think.
Do
Um,
you know the year? Sorry, it's just I don't want to
let's see,
forget.
2010 it looks like 2010
Okay,
Monsters. Yes, with an S.
got you.
Yeah, it's real
All
good.
right, I'm logging into my letterbox so I don't forget.
I don't know if I follow you on there, but I'll have to do that. I forget.
Yeah.
I think I do, but yeah, Letterboxd, gotta love it. I haven't been able to catch up with as much as I wanted to recently, but I did watch Spooky Buddies the other day, the Airbud spinoff.
Oh.
Uh, it was movie night at my house with the kids, and we were like, oh, they wanted to really watch Spooky Buddies. So
That's
that's the
awesome.
extent of my viewing recently. I did watch The Lost World and Spooky Buddies, so I'm on the
I
right
I
track, I
loved
guess. I
Airbud.
don't know.
I loved
But
Airbud as a kid, so I get it. I get it.
yeah, yeah, we watched that one too recently, the first one, and it was like, okay, I get it.
hmm
But yeah, so before we get out of here, where can everybody find you? Are you up to anything? What do you got going on?
Yeah, so you can find me anywhere at Carlos Warlock, Instagram mostly. I don't really use X like that. And then I do have a horror podcast where we review horror movies every week. It's called Horror Daddies. So if you're into horror or anything like that, we do movie reviews. We'll play games. We'll do an unboxing here and there. And yeah, we're on YouTube too. We have video and Apple and Spotify. just regular
Heck yeah.
podcast.
Definitely go
Yeah.
check it all out. I hope you enjoy that baby juice that you got there. That thing's
Oh,
awesome.
yeah. Thank you.
And yeah, we'll have to do another list or another episode sometime soon. So thank you
Yeah,
so much.
thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it, and this has been so much fun. Anytime that you want to talk Jurassic, I would love to.
Let's do it.